Good day everyone, my name is Dave Partner. Welcome to your 20th JavaScript tutorial. In this tutorial, we will be covering two types of loops. A loop is a way to execute a statement several times while an expression is true, remains true. So there are two types of loops we will check out in this section. Then in subsequent sections, videos, we will explore other types of loops. So the first one and the most basic one in JavaScript is called the while loop. It works like this. You write the while keyword, and then you have an expression here, then you write a statement. So let's do it right here. We have a while, and first of all, let's set x to let's just declare a variable and say maybe the variable's name is x, and let's just give it a value of, let's say, 15. So x is 15, and then we want to execute a statement. We want to print a statement as long as on several times until x becomes 15. So we have while x is less than 15. X is less than 15. All right. Or we can say while x is less than 15. Do something. What do? We can say document dot write hello world. Then we put a line break. You can just say br. Okay, and we have to increment x. So this guy, x is less than 15. So if we do this, it will run forever. So we have to increase x at each count. So it will go the first time x is 15. Sorry, x is 0. Let's just make x to be 0. So the first time x starts with 0, second time x starts with x becomes 1. So that's what we want to do. We want to make sure that x, let's increase x. We can say x plus plus. That means add 1 to x each time you run this loop. So the first time x is 0, it runs this loop, comes back and checks for this condition or expression and says that yes, x is not equal to, is still less than 15. So it runs it again, comes back, and that x becomes 2, checks 2 is less than 15, it runs it again until it gets to 14. 14 is less than 15, cool, it runs it one more time and it gets to 15 and realizes, yeah, 15 is not less than 15, so it stops. So it will run how many times? Alright, let's see. So we'll go to our browser and we'll refresh. So all we have is hello world, hello world, hello world, hello world. So what we can do is to actually number it. Let us also print the value of x. So we can put x here and put plus to concatenate it. Alright, so it will give us it will print the value of x, and let's put this here, and then it will increment x at the bottom. So we have this. We'll refresh, and do we have an error? Alright, let me check. Oh well, let's do it together. So how to check for errors in JavaScript. In JavaScript, when you have an error, your screen will remain blank like this. What you have to do is to check your console. So you right click on your screen, and I don't know why mine is super freezing. You right click and click on inspect element. It pulls up. Yours might come from the bottom, but mine comes from the side. Basically what you're looking for is the console. So it tells you that there's an error on line, check out the extreme here. You see that it's on line 21 and it's missing unexpected token. So I will have to go to line 21 on my code and figure out what is wrong there. This is line 21 and we made a mistake. We removed x, we cut instead of copy. Okay, so this is what we want to do. We want to print x along with each hello world. So we get back to our code, and we'll refresh our code, and there we have it. 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 14 times. That's 15 times in total. So as you can see, it's printing the value of x on each one to show that x is incrementing. Another way to increment, another thing we can do is to increment before we start. What if we increase x before it runs the first time? So let's refresh and see what will happen. We'll refresh and we'll have 1, 2, 3. So x increased the first time increase before it runs the first time. If you get back to the code, you see that initially x is 0, but before it prints this guy out, it increases to 1 and then continues. Alright, now we've done that, let's look at do while loop. So I'll comment this guy out and say, hey, go and rest, and we have do while loop. So what do while loop does is basically it executes something at least the first time, then before it checks the expression. It's just like turning while loop upside down. Alright, you know, in while loop it checks for the expression, then it executes the statement. But in do while loop, you execute a statement, then you check for this expression, okay, or the condition. So let's do the same thing with do while loop. We can say do this, which means basically do these two guys, increment x and print this guy out while x is less than 15. So it's going to print all this guy while x is less than 15, but once x equals 15 or above, it will stop. So we can come here and refresh. As you can see, it's the same thing. Reload is the same thing, print the same thing. Just to show you that it works, what if we remove x and put it at the bottom and refresh? As you can see, the numbering changes. Okay, so that's do while loop. The main difference between do while loop and while loop, then usually ask it in exams and aptitude tests, is that in do while loop the statement must execute at least once. So even if the condition doesn't fulfill, the statement will execute at least once. Alright, so those are the main differences between a do while loop. And finally, we're going to look at endless loop. And an endless loop is a loop that the condition never fulfills, so it runs forever. The expression here will never fulfill, so it runs forever. So let's use this as an example of an endless loop. Let's make sure that x doesn't increment, and we refresh. An endless loop will run forever, so it will eventually hang your browser and freeze your system. So I'm going to refresh this once, and as you can see, it stays loading. It will load forever. There will never be a time, as you can see, it keeps loading till my system will freeze, because there will never be a time when x will be less than x will always be less than 15, because we are not incrementing it. It will stay at 0. We are not incrementing it to approach 15. So forever and ever, the loop will keep running. So that's how to create an endless loop. Most of the times when you're learning programming, you find yourself accidentally creating endless loops. As you can see, mine is still running, so I have to stop the browser from refreshing. Alright, thank you very much for this tutorial and following through so far. In the next video, we'll see other types of loops, and we're gradually approaching towards the ending of these JavaScript tutorials. So thank you. See you in the next video.